Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 2-2 of October-November 2010. Now, with that being said, again, let's move on to question number 1. Okay, so here what do we have? We have section A. We have to answer all the questions. So part A, we have to simplify this fraction. So pretty easy. If you observe, the top, there's nothing much we can do. That will be x plus y. However, here we have 8. Factorize 8 outside, we have x plus y. Now, as you can see, these two are the same. It will be 1 over 8. That'll be part 1 of the questions. Now, for part 2, let's see what can we do. We can first expand the brackets. You will have 3x squared minus 2x. Then we have minus 3x squared plus 5. So, as you can see, these two will cancel out. And then you will have remaining will be what? Will be 5 minus 2x. That will be part A of the question. Now for part 2, we have to solve the equation. Solving means find the unknown value here. We have to find the value of t. So the first thing we can do is to simplify this side first. You will have, on one side you have 3t minus 4 is equal to 7 plus 2t plus 6. That will be, so that will be 7 plus 6 will be what? 13 plus 2t. Now we send this over here, that will become t. Send this over here, become plus 4, that will be 17. So t will be 17. Now for part C, we have to factorize this expression. So let me write this down here. We have more space, so we have 5px minus 7qx plus 10 py minus 14 qy. Now, something we can observe here is that we have x in common here. So let's factorize the x outside. You will have 5p minus 7q. Now here we have y in common. Let's factorize the y. But also we have 10 and 14. As you can see, these two are even numbers. We can factorize 2 outside. You will have 5p minus 7q. Now again, by observation, what do we see? We see that these two are the same, right? So we can again factorize these two outside. You will have this remaining on the other side. Now again, if you're not confident when you factorize, you can always double check. You can always expand this and you will realize you're supposed to get back the same equation as the beginning. So if you want to check, you can always do that. So however, as you can see, these are the steps to find this one as your answer, and that is part C of the question. Now part D, when the value of x is equal to minus 2, which of the two expressions, this and this, have a greater value? So let's see. So we have this minus 2 plus 4, that will be what? Minus 6 plus 4, that will be the value of minus 2. Now for this one, 2 minus 2, that is 4. As you can see, this one will have a bigger value because it is plus 4 against minus 2. So this one has a bigger value. Now for part 2, we have to solve this inequality. So pretty easy. Let's first send all the x to one side. You have 3x plus, that will be 4x. 2 minus 4 will be minus 2. So eventually x have to be minus half. And this is your answer for question number 1. Now let's move on to question number 2. The rate of exchange between pounds and dollars is this one. Okay, good to know. And the rate of exchange between pounds and euros is this much. Now pretty easy. From this we can conclude something is that if you were to solve simultaneously, we can see that $1.87 have to be 1.21 euros. So that's the third thing we can have from these two. We can derive this. Now this is a good thing to know for afterwards in the question. Now part 1, we have Catherine changes 500 pounds into dollars. Calculate how many dollars she receives. So pretty easy. 1 pound is 1.87, so 500 will be 500 times 1.87. So let's find out. That will be 935. That will be dollars. Now for part 2, Esther changes this much euros into pounds. Find how many pounds she received. So we can see that euros is 1.21 euros is equal to 1 pound. Now 726 euros will be 1 pound divided by 1.21 times 726. Okay, so 726 divided by 1.21, that should be 600. So she will be receiving 600 pounds from this many euros. That is part B of the question. Now for part 3, Rose changes 850 into euros. As you can see here, $1.87 is equal to 1.21 euros. Now we have to find 850. Now the first step is to let's find what is $1. That will be euros 121 divided by 1.87. Now we are trying to find, from this, we are trying to find 850. So that will be 1.21 divided by 1.87 times 850. So 1.21 divided by 1.87 times 850. That will be 550 for the amount of euros that she will be receiving. So that will be the answer for question part 3. Now for part B, Matthew changes 770 into rupees. So we have dollars into rupees now. She received this many rupees. So how many rupees did she receive for each dollar? So pretty easy. Let's see. So as you can see, 770 was equal to 40,000 rupees. So $1 will be what? We have to divide by 770 on both sides to make this become 1. So divide 770. That will be 51.9, correct to 3SF. That will be rupees. Now for part 3, part C, Lily bought a car for this much money. Okay. Now she paid for it in 36 equal monthly payments. So pretty easy. So we have this much is the amount that she will need to pay divided by 36 months. So 13,500 divided by 36, that will be 375 will be the monthly payment. There's only one mark, as you can see, pretty easy. Now for part 2 of the question, George bought a car for $20,000. That's the amount she bought it for. He borrowed $27,000 at 15% per year for 3 years. He repaid the total amount in 36 equal month payments. Calculate the amount he paid each month. So pretty easy. We need to first find how much he has to pay, right? Because of the loan he took at this rate. So pretty easy. A is equal to the P plus PRT. This is the formula we need to know for simple interest. That will be, P will be the amount at first. That will be 27,000. And PRT will be 27,000. Rate is 15%. And time will be 3 years. So let's find out how much he has to repay. So 27,000 plus 27,000 times 15% and times 3. That will be 39,150. Now, obviously, he wants to pay the total amount, which is this, in 36 months. We have to divide by 36. That will be 10,887.5. This is the amount that she has to pay. And that will be your question number 2. Okay, so let's move on to question number 3. So here we have to calculate the interior angle of a regular 10-sided polygon. Now regular means they are equal side. Now in this case we have to use a simple formula, which is n minus 2 times 180 divided by n to find the size of the interior angle. Now n is the number of sides. Now here we have 10 sides, so it will become 8 times 180 divided by 10. Let's see what do we get. That will be 144 for the answer of the angle that we need to find, part A. Now part B, we have the shape A, B, C, D, E, and H. For some reason here we have H. So it is what? AH is a line of symmetry. Okay, so if this is a line of symmetry, it means that this is a mirror which reflects everything here to here. So let's see. So by observation, you can see this has to be AD as well. That's something we can conclude. And this also has to be 4x. And this has to be x because AH is the line of symmetry. Okay. Now here we have to find the value of x. But now again, before we find the value of x, let's see what is the sum of all the angles in this shape. So here we have 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 sides. So what is the sum of all the angles? That will be 5 minus 2 times 180. That will be the sum of all the angles. So 3 times 180, that will be 540. Now, since we know this, we can form an equation. So let's see what is the equation we can form. So let's add everything. So here we have 2x on top plus 80 plus 8x plus 80. That have to give you 540. Simplify, that will be 10x plus 160 have to give you 540. So 10x have to be what? 540 minus 160, that will be 380. So x have to be what? Divided by 10, that will be simply 38 degrees. That is part B of the question. Now let's move on to part C of the question. So here we have the line PY. Where's PY? PY is here. It is a line of symmetry of the pentagon PQRST. Now again, this one is one more time a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that the sum of all the interior angles have to be again 540 degrees because it is a pentagon, 5-sided. That's something we can kind of conclude at first, and then we can continue on. Now because this is a line of symmetry, we know the angle on this side will be the same on this side. Something we can keep in mind before doing the questions. Now, we have PY and TQ intersect at the end. So N here is this one. Okay? Now PN equal to NY. Okay, this and this are the same. That's good to know. Now what else? We have TQ is 12. So this is 12. And SR is 10. This is 10. Okay. Let's see what else do we need to find. Given that PY is equal to 2H, so this whole thing is 2H, which means this have to be H and this have to be H, right? If that makes sense, right? Now find an expression in terms of H for the area of the trapezium QRST. So QRST. So this one. How would you find area of trapezium? So as you know, area of trapezium is equal to half times sum of the parallel side and times the height in between, the perpendicular height in between. So to find this one, right, let's see what do we need to find at first. For example, we have the sum of the two parallel sides. That will be what? Will be this one and this one. That will be 10 plus, this is same as 12, right? And the height in between will be H. Here you go. So 10 plus 12 will be 22. Divided by 2 will be 11. H. That will be the answer for the area of QRST. That will be in terms of centimeters square. Now for part 2 actually, we have to find, given that the area of PQRST, so PQRST is this much, find the value of H. Okay, so pretty easy. So how would you usually find the area of PQRST? So it is the area of this triangle and area of this trapezium. So how would you find area of triangle? It will be half times base is 12, and times height is H. that will be 6h. So the area of the whole shape, which is P, Q, R, ST, is supposed to be 11h plus 6h, that will be 17h. Now we know this is given to you by the question as 2 to 1. So h have to be 2 to 1 divided by the value of 17. That will be 13 as the answer. So 13 will be the value that we need to find for part 2 of the question. That is question number 3. Okay, so let's move on to question number 4 now. So here we have what? We have a quadrilateral, which is PQRS, which is the diagram right here given to you. Now we have PQ as 7, QS as 9, okay? And then we have these angles, 90, 90, and this is 35. Now part 1, find the angle SPQ. So SPQ, find this angle. So pretty easy. In this case, we can use SOHCAHTOA because it is a right angle triangle. So we know this side, this is your A side, this is your opposite side, right? So let's see what happens here. So that will be what? So A, that will be tan, right? Tan of the angle P have to be the value of 9 over 7. So P has to be what? Because we know tan is, when we choose TOA, has to be opposite side over adjacent side. So this is the opposite side, which is 9 over 7. That will be tan inverse 9 over 7. So 9 divided by 7, tan inverse of the answer, that should be 52.1 degrees. That will be part 1 of the answer. Now for part 2, we have to find RS. Now RS is this one. Again, we also have a right angle triangle. So we can use again SOHCAHTOA to find the value of RS. So let's see which one can we use in this part of the question. So we know this side, this is now we're looking at a triangle QRS. This side is the H hypotenuse because it is opposite the right angle. We call this side the hypotenuse. And now we are trying to find this side. The side between the right angle and the angle is called the A side. So A is right here. As you can see, we will be using cos of the angle is 35. It's supposed to give you the A side, which is RS, over the H side, that will be 9. So solve for RS, that will be 9 cos 35. So 9 cos of 35, that should give you 7.37. Correct your 3SF for the value of this side. Okay, that will be part A of the question. Now let's move on to part B. Let's see what do we have now. So the area of the curved surface of a cone of radius r and height is given to you by this formula. That is something given to you, which is very good. Now, the diagram shows a cone ABC, as we can see here. Now, what's something we can derive right away? We can see the shape and everything, but hey, we realized that we can actually break this down in half because this is a circle. What is this length? It will be, if the whole thing is 8, this have to be the radius, and this has to be 4. And also something we can do here is that we can join the peak with the center, and that will be 90 degrees right here. Again, if this is 40, this has to be the value of 20. I hope that makes sense, right? Now, what's next we can do? So we have all these things. Now, part of the question is to find the curved surface area of the cone. Now again, the curved surface area is found by using the formula pi RL. Pi is pi, it is a constant. R is found to be 4. We need to find the value of L. Now L is this slant height. Now something we have realized is that if you take out this triangle outside, as you can see, it is a right angle triangle. That will be 4 here. This is 20 here, right? And we have to find this one. So again, we have to use So K12 because we have a right angle triangle. So this side will be because it is opposite the right angle, it will be called the hypotenuse. And we know this side is called the opposite side, right? So because of that, we have to use sine. Sine of the angle have to be the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So L have to be 4 divided by sine 20. Let's see what happens. That will be 11.7, correct to 3SF. But now again, I prefer to use exact values so we can have a more accurate answer at the end. That will be 11.6952. So let's do that. This times 4 times pi. That will be 146.966. Now correct to 3SF. That will be 147 centimeters square for the curved surface area. And that is your question number 4. Okay, so let's move on to question number 5. The table shows the distribution of the masses of 90 apples. So we know that in total we have 90 apples. That's the number of apples we have, or we have measured. Now, part A of the question, in which interval does the median lie? Now, first thing first is we have to understand what is the median. The median is simply the middle value. Now, how do you usually find the middle value? We take the value of 90. Usually with plus 1 divided by 2. That will be what? 90 plus 1 divided by 2, that should be 45.5 element. Now 45.5 is the value between 45 and 46. So let's see, where are those two values found? Now again, I know this might change depending on the question. Usually when we do cumulative frequency questions, we don't need to actually plus 1, we can divide by 2 directly. But in this case, I don't think it's going to make a difference, but let's find out. So the idea is that less than 80, we have 10. And between those two, that will be what? 10 plus 16 will be what? 26. Plus 20, that will be 46. So basically we know that from this, so these two, we had 26, and these two, we had 46. So we know that when m is less or equal to 90, on this side we have 26 apple. However, when m is less or equal to 95, we have 46 apple. So the idea is that the 46 and the 45th apple happens in this interval. If that makes sense, right? So here you go. Part A, it will be 90 to 95. For this interval, this is where the median lies. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. So we have to find the mean. Now here we have to find the estimate for the mean because we have intervals. Now to find the estimate, we have to use the formula, which is the sum of fx divided by the number of apples. Now, x is the midpoint of each interval, f is the number of apples, which is called by the frequency. Now, how do you find the midpoint of each interval? So pretty easy. We add those two and divide by 2, add those two and divide by 2. So let's try. 60 plus this will be 140 divided by 2, that should be 70. You can use your calculator as well. You will find the answer more easily. So that will become 85 for the interval. This will become 92.5. This will become 97.5. This is 105, and that will be 120 for this interval as well. Now in the end, we have to find the sum of fx. So let's do that. First one will be 70 times 10, and then we have 85 times 16 plus 92.5 times 20 plus 97.5 times 21 plus 105 times 22 plus 120. That should be the sum of all the fx of all. So fx is basically the sum of all the masses of all the apples in this set. Now divide by n, which is 90, to find the average or the mean mass. That will be 93.2, correct to 3SF. That will be in terms of, I think it's grams. So grams will be part B of the question. Now part C, we have a histogram is drawn to represent the information. Okay, good to know. Now part 1, calculate the frequency density of this interval. Pretty easy. Now first thing first, how do you define frequency density? That will be frequency divided by class width. As you can see, the frequency for this one is what? It is 20. And the class width will be this minus this, that will be 5. So FD for this one will be the value of 4. Okay. Now part 2, the rectangle representing the apples with masses in this interval, so 80 to 90, has width of 2, okay, and height of 4. So let's see. So what is the FD for this one? Right? So let's find out. FD 80 to 90 will be 16 for frequency. The class width was 10. So the FD was 1.6. Now we realize that, hey, what happens here is that if your FD is 1.6 and the interval here, as you can see, was 10, right? So when we draw the histogram, we give it a rectangle of height, tell you of height 4 and of width 2. Now again, this interval represents the width and FD represents the height. Now let's see what is next for us. So we have to find the width and the height for this one. So pretty simple. We know that the FD for this one was given by 4. Right. So let's find the height. So we use ratios or proportionality. So which means we know that 1.6 was given a height of 4. Right? So what is 1? 1 will be 4 divided by 1.6. But now we want to find FD of 4. So 4 will be 4 divided by 1.6 times 4. So let's see what happens. That will be the value of 10. So the height of this one will be 10. Now what is the width? So pretty easy again. As we can see, the width here is 5. 5 minus 90. So 95 minus 90 will be 5, right? Now 10 is going to be, from this one, 10 is going to be 2. So 5 will be exactly half, should be 1. So the width, which is this, should be equal to 1. So by using ratio, we realize that these are the values that we need to find to draw the height and the width of the rectangle representing the group or the interval 90 to 95. This is the height of 10 and the width of 1. Okay, so again, the main idea is that to draw a histogram, the height is equal to the frequency density and the width is basically the interval. So once you understand that, you can find those values pretty easily. And this is your question number 5. So this one is a requested locus question. So let me have a look of how we can solve this question. So this is question number 6. So here we have to answer this question on a new page. So we have to use a new page. So I believe in the exam they will give you a new page. Now we have A and B are 2 Coast Guard stations. So here we have A and B marked on the page, right? A is due north of B. That is something given to you. Now on your new blank page, you have to mark A in a position near the top right hand corner as shown in this diagram. So let's do this. So the idea is that we will have a page and we have to mark A, let's say somewhere over here. That's the main idea. Great. This is my point A, for example. Good to know. Now question is, the distance between A and B is 140 km. Okay. Now using a scale of 1 centimeters to 10 km, we have to mark the position of B. Draw the line AB. So pretty easy, which means 140 km has to be what? If 10 km is 1 centimeter, 140 km has to be 14 centimeters. Right. So basically, the point B is exactly below A, so you have to make sure you are drawing a straight line which is at 14. So 14 will be what? 14. So as you can see, I don't have a proper ruler. What I will do is I will do 2 times the length of 7. So that will be 1 time and then 2 times. Right, 2 times should be a straight line below right here. This is your point B. Should be exactly below at 90 degrees for this one. Okay, so that is question part A that we have seen right here. Now, what is next? So part 2, we have to construct the locus of points west of AB. So west of AB should be on this side, right? West of AB. Now, first one has to be equidistant from A and B. So now, equidistant from 2 points, it means has to be what? Has to be the perpendicular bisector of the line AB. This is what it means. So we have to draw this. So we have to use a protractor. Let's see what can we do here. So first we have to go to one of those points. Let's say I go to point A. I have to measure a distance. Sorry about that. Distance which is more than halfway of AB. So more than halfway should be somewhere over here. And then so let me draw an arc over here. Right. Now using the same distance, you have to go to B and then intersect the first arc. Now you will see you have a point of intersection right here. Right. Now in this case, you just have to join this point to the line at 90 degrees. At 90 degrees, like this. Right. So that will be your answer for part 1 by drawing a perpendicular bisector of the line AB. Okay, that is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to draw another locus of points which is 90 km from B. So from the point B, 90 km will be what? So we know that 10 km is 1, so 90 km will be 9 centimeters from B. Okay, so the idea is that we have to first measure 9 centimeters on your ruler. So in this case, I don't think I have a proper one. Let me try my best to do this. Okay, let me think of a way that I can actually measure using that short set square that I have. So let me think. So I can do this. Let me first draw 9 centimeters. I will have, this is 8. This is 8. Let me add one more to this and will be 9. So there you go. This should be 9 centimeters. Now I can measure that. Now again, you won't be having this issue because you'll be using a proper ruler. It is just me. I don't know why. There you go. So now once I measure this length correctly, okay, so 9. So basically the idea is that if it is within 90 km from B, it has to be what? It has to be a circle from B. Try your best, should be in this way. Okay, here you go. This is your answer for part 2 of the question. Okay, that is good to know. Now what's next? Now a ship S lies on the west of AB, which is on this side, okay, and is part 1 nearer to A than to B, okay, which means has to be on this side rather than on this side. So nearer to A will be on this side, right? And has to be inside the circle. As you can see, inside means has to be inside this one. So the answer will be this one. We have to shade this region which represents all the possible position of that ship S. That is part C of the question. Pretty easy, right? Part C of the question. not part B, done. Now let's move on to part C of the question. It is also known that the bearing of the ship from A is 204. Now let's do this. Now from the point A, let's measure 204. Okay, so what can we do? So first let's draw this line. This is your north line. Right, this is the north line. Okay, great. Now we know that this has to be 180. From this point, let's say we know this has to be 180. So we know it is 204. What is the remaining after 180? So 204 minus 180 has to be what? Has to be 24. So let's measure 24 from the point A. So point A. So we have this. Now 24 should be somewhere over here. As you can see, we're able to find that point. Now we just have to join the point A to that point, so we can find the position, the possible position, as you can see. So basically the idea is that the ship S has to lie on that line as well. Now the question is, we have to mark the two extreme position of S1 and S2 of the ship. Now let's see. S1 will be this one, this position, or it could be this position. So these two are the extreme position for the position of the ship. Let's call this S2 and let's call this one S1. Okay, now what's next? The next one is we have to measure the angle S1 BS2. Okay, so S1 B is this one, S2. So let's join these two. So S1 joining with this. Now S2 join with this one. So make sure you use a sharp pencil because you don't want to have any silly mistake when you actually draw something. Now the next step is to do what? To measure the angle of S1, so angle B. So let's see how can you measure this angle. So let's see. So go to your point B. This is my point B. Now we have to look at those two, right? So we have to look at these difference here. So this will be what? This will be, according to my graph, this is 151, and this is 156, this is 165. So according to this is 9 degrees. According to my diagram or graph, you could say it is 9 degrees. Now it depends on how would you draw this accurately. Should be around those values as well. So according to my measurement, it showed to be about 9 degrees. Now question, we have to find the bearing. We have the bearing of the ship S from B is X. So from the point B, okay, this is the point B, is S. Now we have to find the least possible value of X. So let's see. So how would you find the bearing? As we know, we must have a north line, right? That's the main idea. Now the least possible bearing will be what? So how do we measure bearing? We always start from this side. We go, and you say you will touch the line first. So we touch this line first, which means this will be the smallest bearing. So this side alone has to be, this side is 180. So we have to find this side. So let's measure this side of the angle. So go to your point B and measure. So according to my measurement, it shows to be about 155.6, right? So this angle here will be what? Will be 1.5. So 156, I think, not 0.6. Let me try one more time. So it shows to be about 156. So 156. So the bearing will be 180 plus 156 will be my least bearing. So 156 plus 180, that should be 336. the least possible value of x will be 3, 3, 6. Because if you compare, we have two values of x, right? Two possible values of x. It could be this one, or it could be the other one as well. It could be also the position where we have S1. As you can see, since we go further than this one, the red one will be more than the blue one. So because of that, we choose the blue one because the question is asking us which one is the least possible value of x. So again, by measurement or by calculation, we have found this is my value according to my drawing. And again, advice to give you guys here is to use a sharp pencil whenever you have to draw locus, and step by step follow through the questions to help you find the answer. This is your question number 6. Okay, so let's move on to question number 7. So here we have section B. Usually we have to answer 4 questions in this section. However, as you guys know, I will be doing all the questions. So let's see, what do we have? So we have A, B, C, D, and P, Q, R, S are rectangles. So this is number 1 and number 2. Good to know. Now each rectangle has an area of 13 centimeters square. Now again, something we can think about already is how do you find the area of a rectangle? So area is equal to length times width. That's something we can think about. Now let's see. AD is x and PS is this value, as we can see on the diagram. Now part A of the question, find in terms of x an expression for AB. AB is this, and PQ is this. So pretty easy, because we know the area is 13, so this will be, AB has to be what? Will be 13 divided by the width, which is x, and this one will be, area is 13 divided by the length, which is x plus 5, to find the other side. I hope that was pretty easy, right? Now let's move on to part B. Now given that AB is 3 centimeters greater than PQ, so here we have AB is more than PQ, which means if you were to take AB minus PQ, you're supposed to get the value of 3, if that makes sense. Now we have to form an equation. So let's see. AB is 13 over x minus 13 over x plus 5 have to give you the value of 3. Now something we can do, we can simplify this side first. They have different base. That will be, we can first multiply them by each other. This is 5, sorry. And then cross multiply, you'll have 13x plus 65 minus 13x have to be the value of 3. Now these two will cancel out. Now let's continue this. That will give you what? 65 is equal to 3x. That will be x plus 5. So 65 has to be 3x squared plus 15x. So finally that will be 3x squared plus 15x minus 65 is equal to 0. This is shown as required by the question. That is part B of the question. Now for part C, we have to solve this equation giving the answers to 2 decimal places. Now again, by looking at this, you know already the answer will not be exact values, so we have to use the formula for quadratic equation. That will be 3x squared plus 15x minus 65 is 0. Now x has to be minus b plus minus root of b squared will be 15 squared minus 4 times a times c. That will be 1005 divided by 2a, that should be 6. So let's see, so minus 15 plus root of 105 divided by 6, that will be 2.7836, and x could also be the value of minus 15 minus root of 105 divided by 6. That'll be minus 7.7836. Now again, the answer needs to be in 2 decimal places, so let's try our best. So x have to be 2.78, x have to be minus 7.78, 2SF. That's 2 decimal places, sorry. Now part D, we have to show that the perimeter of ABCD is this, correct to 3SF. Now ABCD a, so what is AB? As we have seen, it is 13 over x. So the perimeter is all the side. We have to add them together. Pretty easy. That will be 2 times x plus 2 times 13 over x. That will be 2 times x will be 2.78 plus 2, 13 over 2.78. 2 times 2.78 plus 2 times 13 over 2.78. That will be 14.9125. However, it has to be 14.9 correct to 3SF, and this is shown as required. Of course, you have to write centimeters here for the answer. Now for part 2, we have to find the difference in the perimeters of the two triangles. So pretty easy. We have to find this one as well. So what is the P of this one? That will be, this one was found to be 13 divided by x plus 5. So x was 2.78 plus 5 is 7.78, and 13 divided by answer, that should be 1.67. So this is 1.67. Now to find the perimeter, that should be 1.67 times 2 plus 7.78 times 2. That will be 18.9. So difference will be what? Difference will be 18.9 minus 14.9. That should be the value of 4. But let's check. Why not? That is 4. So 4.00 centimeters for the difference. Now this is correct to 3SF again. That will be your question number 7. Now let's move on to question number 8. So answer the whole of this question on a sheet of graph paper. So usually back then you used to receive a full sheet of graph paper for you to do these kind of questions. However, these days you don't need to do so. They will give you that graph paper on the same page of your exam. Usually they will also give you the axes already just for you to plot the points and join all the points to form a curve. Now either ways, let's move on to this question. Now, the variables x and y are connected by the equation. As you can see, y equal to x cubed over 10 minus x over 2. The table shows some corresponding values of x and y. First thing first, we have to find the value of p. So how would you find the value of p? We just have to plug in the value of x, 4.5 in this to find the value of p. So p will be what? Let's see. That'll be 4.5 cubed divided by 10 minus 4.5 divided by 2. Let's try one more time. So 4.5 cubed divided by 10 minus 4.5 divided by 2. That should be 6.9 for the value, correct to one, I think correct to 1 decimal place, right? As everything here is 1 decimal place. Okay, next thing is we have to use the scale given to you of 2 centimeters for 1 on the each axis. We have to draw a horizontal this and this on the graph. So basically you have to draw a graph, so make sure that you draw this scale correctly, which is 2 centimeters for 1 unit. Now again, I didn't do that yet because I don't have any graph paper. However, the shape will be something like this. This is not well done. You have to be, for 2 has to be 1, so 2, 3, 4 has to be longer on both sides. Now again, the idea of doing this question will be the same, so I hope you guys can follow just by drawing the right graph for yourself. Okay, now for part which one? For part C of the question, we have to use the graph to solve this equation. So pretty easy. As you can see, this is what? This is the equation of the graph, which is y. So now just replace y. So we have to draw y equal to 0.3 and find out where this line cuts the curve between this range. So let's do that. Y equal to 0.3 should be what? So let's measure. That'll be 1, 2, 3 should be somewhere over here. Now let's join. You'll see what happens. So 0.3. So that will be here. Label this as y equal to 0.3. Will be this point. And according to my graph, it should be about 2.6. So let me write this down. This answer should be 2.6 according to my graph. So find the values of x. That will be 2.6. For me, just one value shows to be the point of intersection for me. So only one value will be 2.6, only one mark. Now for part D, we have to draw the chord joining the points this and the point this, and find the gradient. So let's see. The first point is 0, 0, is right here. And the second point is 3 and 1.2. So 3 is this one. And where is 1.2? 1.2 should be somewhere over here. Right, this is 1 over here. So let's join these two. That will be this and join with this one. Okay, so this is the line that we have to draw. And then sorry, we don't have to go past this. This is my fault. We just need to stop when we touch the point, the chord. Stop right here. And then we have to, so basically we have to, this is the line 3, 1.2. So basically we have to join this and this. This is supposed to be here. Join those two. That's it. I don't need to do this part. This is extra. You need to erase this part, because as you can see, it is asking you to only draw a chord joining those 2 points. Now, and find its gradient. So pretty easy. How do you find the gradient? That will be the height divided by the height is 3 divided by the base, which is 1.2. 3 divided by 1.2, that should be 2.5. Okay, so you can use the formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus the answer. Should be that answer. I think this is wrong again, because the height is actually 1.2. I made a mistake here. I think I'm just tired right now. Let's try again. So y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, that should be 0.4, not 1.2. 0.4 should be the gradient for the answer. Now for part 2, we have to draw a tangent at the point where the gradient of the curve is equal to the gradient of the chord. So pretty easy. So how would you find the tangent at the point where the gradient? So basically we have to use our ruler here. The idea is that we have to move the ruler to a place where we touch the tangent at only one point. You can see it will be exactly at this point. So it will be this one. So we have to find this here, and we have to draw the tangent at the point where the graph is equal to, the gradient is equal. So we just draw this. It will be this line. So call this your tangent. So the idea is that it needs to be parallel to this line, but it needs to touch the graph at exactly one point as well. So label this as a tangent. That will be your 1 mark as well. Now let's move on to part E of the question. So on the same graph, we have to draw the line. This, pretty easy. Find 2 passing points to draw a straight line. When x equal to 0, y has to be 6. When x equal to value of 1, y has to be 5. So let's put those 2 points. So 0 will be 6, this one. And 1 has to be 5. 5 will be what? 5 will be this one. Okay, so this is my line. Let's join those two by a straight line. This will be y equal to the value of what? Value of minus x plus 6. Okay, now what's next? Next thing we have to write down the x value of the point where it crosses. So pretty easy. As you can see by observation, it crosses at this point. Now you just have to read off the value on the x-axis. Now according to my graph, it shows to be about 3.5. So I will write down this value for my graph. 3.5 for the x value. Now yours may be different, but that's okay. You have to provide the right arrow or right shape. We'll have to show how did you find this value. Now let's move on to the last part here. The value of x is a solution to this equation. Find the value of a and b. So pretty easy. So whenever you have this kind of question, it means that how did you find this solution? So this solution was found by using the point of intersection where the line meets the curve. Now crosses meets cuts, it means we have to solve a simultaneous equation. Now we know the curve is equal to what? X power 3 over 10 minus x over 2. Now next one is what? We have the line is y equal to minus x plus 6. Now replace, because we are solving a simultaneous equation, we can do that. So on one side you will have minus x plus 6 have to be x power 3 over 10 minus x over 2. Now if you want to eliminate the denominators, we can multiply by 10 everywhere. You will have minus 10x plus 60 equal to x cubed minus 5x. So simplify, that will be x power 3, that will be minus 5, that will be plus 10, that should be plus 5. And then minus 60 has to be 0. Now by comparison, you can see that this will be your value of A, this is your value of B. So A has to be your value of 5 and B has to be the value of minus 60. Okay, so the main takeaway from this question I want you guys to do is to understand how to solve these questions. It's not the answers here, the answers can vary, as you can see, because we are highly dependent on the graph. My graph is definitely not perfect, but the idea is you must understand how to find these answers so you get your marks. Of course, you have to show your work as always to get those marks. And this is your question number 8. So let's move on to question number 9. So here we have what? We have two diagrams, 1 and 2. So let's see what is the question. So we have a cube here with a triangular pyramid removed from one of the corners. As you can see, this is the pyramid that we have removed from this corner. Now the triangular pyramid ABCD is shown right here. Okay, good to know. We have 5, 5 and 5. So when we have all these sides are equal, this means that this must be the same, if that makes sense, because the angle here is 90. And this is the side 5, 5. So this has to be the value of what? Let's see. Let's try to find that value, because when you have a right angle triangle, let's think, right? This is 5, 5, 90. So what is this side? We can use the Pythagoras theorem to find out the value of this side. It will have to be square root of 50, right? Because it will be 5 square will be 25 plus 25, then square root, that will be this side. So because every side is the same, so 5, 5, 5, this has to be root of 50, and root of 50. So that's something we can conclude according to the image or to the diagram, right? Then let's move on to the next one. So part A, we have to state the height of this pyramid when the base of the triangle is ABD. So it is only one mark, and this is state should be pretty easy. So we have to use your imagination. So what if the base of the triangle was ABD? So ABD was the base. Now vertically upwards, this point will be the point C. So the height will have to be AC, which is 5, according to the diagram, 5 centimeters. Now for part B, the volume of the pyramid is 1/3 but times the base area times the height. Okay, that's good to know. Now part 1, we have to find the volume of the pyramid. So pretty easy. That will be what? 1/3 times the base area. So base area we can make just like the question from part 1. Let's make the base area be triangle ABD. Now if you make triangle ABD become the base area, so ABD should be something like this. That will be A, B and D. This will be 5 and 5, and this will be 90. So how would you find area of a right angle triangle? So pretty easy. It is half times base and times height. Okay, this will be the height for this triangle. Now what is the height of the pyramid? It will be CA, that will be also 5. So let's find out what is the area or volume of this pyramid. Sorry, volume. So 1/3 times half times 5 times 5 times 5. That will be 25/6. Or you can write 3SF 20.8 centimeter cube for the units. Obviously, we have to write that as well. That will be part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find the area of triangle BCD. Now by observation, BCD, we have seen that those lengths have to be the same. That will be root of 50, root of 50, and root of 50. Now because all the sides are the same, we can conclude that all the angles have also to be the same, which is 60 degrees. So what is the area of this triangle? We do half sine of the angle in between, that will be 60, and times the two sides around the angle, that will be this. That will be half times sine of 60 times 50. That will be 21.65. So we have to write this down correct to 3SF. That will be 21.7. That will be centimeters square for area. That will be part B of the question, part 2. Now part 3, we have to find the height of the pyramid when the base is BCD. So if this was the base, what is the height? We can use this formula because we know the volume is the same, which is this value is equal to 1/3 of the base area, 21 point, let's use the exact value, 65, times height. We are trying to find height. So we have to make height become the subject of formula right here. That will be 25/6 times 3 divided by 21.65. That should be 2.89. So that will be the height of the pyramid. And that will be part 3 of the question. Now let's move on to part C of the question. An identical triangular pyramid is removed from each of the other 7 vertices of the cube to form this new solid, as you can see here. So we move all the pyramids as well from all the other vertices. So this question is pretty, I would say it's not hard, but you just have to be careful. You have to count, for example. So the cube in the first place, which is part 1, had 6 faces, 8 vertices, which is 8 corners, right? And we had 12 edges. Now, for this new solid, write down the number of faces, vertices, and edges. So one of the ways you can do this is simply by counting. I know it's kind of annoying to do so, but that will be one way you can do this question. So let's count the amount of faces. We have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So from what I can see, I have 14 face, 14 face according to my countings. So let me use my pen here. Okay, so let's count. So on top we have, let's try again. So on top we have 1 here. So we have 1 big, 2 big, 3 big, 4 big. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 big faces. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So here you go. Confirm it is only 16 that we have for the faces. All right, 16 faces. Now for part 2, find the number of vertices, which is the corners. So here we have what? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 plus 1, so 8 again on the bottom, right? Then we must have, what else? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 again. That should be 24. So 24 will be the number of vertices that we have for this one. Now what are the number of edges? So again, you can see this is kind of painful, but we have to count one by one. So edges, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 on top plus 8 at the bottom. And this one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have same thing here, so plus 8 again. And then we have to plus, let's see what else do we need to have. Okay, so we have another 4 edges to add. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will be 36, right? So 36 will be the number of edges. So again, this is the easiest way of doing this question. It may be painful, but that is the easiest way to find those values that we need to find. And that is your question number 9. Okay, so let's move on to question number 10. So here we have P, Q, R, S, and P prime, Q prime, R prime, S prime are congruent quadrilaterals. So it means that these two shapes are exactly the same, at least the corresponding side. We can first find that. So for example, here we know that this has to be equal to this. This has to be equal to this. What else can we see? We can see this has to equal to this. This is obviously equal, so basically we can see that based on the congruency of those two shapes. That's the first thing. Now, R is the same point as S prime. Okay, this one and this one. Great to know. Now, a single transformation transform P onto P prime. So P going to P prime. Okay. Now, and also we have Q going to Q prime and R going to R prime and S going to S prime. Okay, good to know. Now, the main idea here is that we have to find the transformation that does that. Now, the first indication is, as you can see, these 3 marks. So there will be 3 things happening in this one. So again, it takes, I would say, some observation because it is not very obvious at first. So we have 2 options here. We can either choose rotation or it can be enlargement. For example, let's say if you were to choose enlargement, right? So we know that the point P becomes the point P prime, right? So this becomes this. And we know the point Q becomes the point Q prime. This becomes this. Now, wherever they meet, this is the center of enlargement. So the first point is that we know it is an enlargement, and the center for enlargement is the midpoint of the line RS. Okay, so that's something we have to know. And then what is the scale factor for this enlargement? Now, as you can see, since we are moving since the point of or the center of enlargement is between the object and the image, it will have to be negative. Now, because it is the same size, so this is the same size as this, it will be 1. However, because it is in between, there have to be minus 1. So here you go, that will be enlargement 1 point, 2 point, and 3 points for your answer. That is for one of the possible answers. Now the other answer will be, it could also be a rotation. So rotation, that will be your 1 mark. Now whenever you describe a rotation, you also have to provide its angle of rotation. Now, before we do that, let's find the center of rotation. So how do we find the center of rotation? We first join the object and the image. So we'll have 2. So we have Q1, Q prime, P and P prime. So that's the first step. And then we have to draw what? We have to draw the perpendicular bisector of Q, of the line Q and Q prime. You will see it will be a line passing through this at 90 degrees. Okay? And then we have to find the same thing again, the perpendicular bisector of P and P prime. It will be, just by chance, it will be a line passing at 90 degrees to the line P and P prime right here. And they will meet again at the center. So again, as you can see, it will be a rotation. Center will be the midpoint of RS, right? And then what is the angle? You can see, because this is the center, and then we have from P going to P prime, you can see we have to rotate 180. As you can see, this is 180, so the angle will be 180. So again, as you can see, there's two ways to do that, P to P prime, or to get the transformation. So we have to provide 3 things for 3 marks. That is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to write down 2 facts about PQ and Q prime and P prime. So the first thing is they are equal because it is congruent. And then the other thing is, as you can observe clearly, that you have to be in the same direction, parallel. Because of the rotation or the enlargement doesn't really change anything about the direction of those two. Or by simply by observation, you can see that these two have to be parallel. Any congruent side, corresponding side are parallel. If you see, this one also is in the same direction as this one. This one also is the same direction as this one. So these two obviously have to be in the same direction. So that will be part A of the question. Now for part B, here what do we have? We have the diagram shows a triangle A and we have a triangle B. Okay, now we have a transformation T that maps A onto B. So from A going to B. So write down the column vector that does this translation. So pretty easy. This is the image. This is the object, sorry, and this is the image. So how do you move from this to this? You have to move 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. So it will become 2 to the right and 3 up. So this will be the answer for part 1. Now for part 2, the transformation S that maps A onto C is given by this matrix. We have to find the triangle C. So pretty easy. Matrix times object is equal to image. Matrix we know is 2, 0, 0, 1. Object A is given to you by the point 0, 0, 1, 0, and 0, 1. Right? So we will have the points will be what? This will be 0, 0. That will be 2, 0. And then here we will have 0, 1. Right, if that makes sense, right? So because this way by this way will be what? Will be 2 times 0, 0, that will be 0. This will be 1. So this is the points of the triangle C. So let's mark this one on the diagram. So it will be 0, 0 will be here, 2, 0 will be here, and 0, 1 should be here. Okay, this is part 1. Now for part 2, given that this equals to D, now find the vertices of D. Now when we perform these kind of operations, the order is very important. If you look, we have T, S applied to A is equal to D. Now the order here, which one is closer to A? You can see S is closer to A. Now this we have done already. S applied on A give you the triangle C. So this is C. So which means we have to apply T on C to give you D. Now what is T? T is a simple translation in this column vector. We just have to add this to get D. So D will be what? 2, 3, 4, 3, and 2, 4. This will be the vertices for triangle D. So we don't need to draw them. We just have to provide the vertices for triangle D. Now for part 4, the triangle E has vertices this, okay? It is given this become this, that, and that. Okay, so I can see this one is clearly stretched. So in that case, you don't need to know that. You will not be tested on this for your exam. So that will be your question number 10. Now let's move on to the last question of this paper, question number 11. Now, we have a shape right here, it's a triangle. So we kind of think, we have to think at this point, hey, you know, if we have a triangle, we may be using a SOHCAHTOA or maybe using cosine rule or the sine rule. That's the first thing we can put at the back of our mind. Now let's move on with the question. The points X, Y, and Z are on the horizontal ground. It means that these are all on a flat surface, right? Now, XY is 4 km, as you can see here. XZ is 17 right here, and the angle here is 125. Now, question number 1 is to find the side YZ. So pretty easy. In this case, by looking at this shape and all the values given to you, because we know these two sides and the angle in between, we can use the cosine rule to find this one. So pretty easy. Now cosine will be cosine of the angle, which is 125, has to equal to the sum of the squares of those two, the two sides, and then minus the square of this side divided by 2 times the two sides around the angle. That will be the cosine formula you need to know to solve these kind of questions. Now let's do the first thing we can do here is to first we can try to cross multiply. Right. So 2 times 17 times 4 times cos of 125, that will be in degrees, that will be this value. Then we can make zy squared become the subject, that will be what? So we have to send this over here and this over here, right? That will become 17 squared plus this. And because it was negative on the other side, when you send this over here, it will become positive 78.0. So finally, square will be what? 17 square plus 4 square plus 78, that will be this, 383. And finally, let's conclude this here. Zy has to be root of 383, and that will give you what? Let's check. 19.6. So 19.6 will be the answer correct to 3SF. So for non-exact values, you have to provide the answer to 3SF. 19.6, that will be km. That will be part A of the question. Now let's move on to part B of the question. So here we have the points P and point Q are at the same height, vertically above X and Z respectively. Okay, so point Z here, point X, and vertically above those 2 points we have P and Q at the same height. Okay, good to know. Now part 1, when the aircraft was at P, at this point P, the angle of elevation from Y was 44. As you can see here, from the point Y looking up at P, the angle of elevation, which is the angle from the ground to this line, is 44 degrees. Now following this, let's see what we need to find. So given this information, we need to find the value of px. So in this case, what can we do? So let's do this. Let's take out the shape of the triangle PXY to see what do we have. So here we have P, X, and Y. Now simply by observing, what do we have here? We have a right angle triangle. This is 4, this is 44. We're trying to find this one, PX. So now, because we have a right angle triangle, we can use SOHCAHTOA, right? So SOHCAHTOA, let's see which one will we use to find the side of PX. Now you can see this is called the A side. So the angle between, so the side between the angle and the 90 degrees is called the A side. So A and A. And the angle, so the side above the 90-degree angle is called the opposite side. So O and O. Now here we have this one is the most marked, I would say. So we'll use this one. So tan of the angle 44 has to be opposite side, which is PX, over the A side, which is 4. From this, PX have to be 4 tan of 44. Okay, so 4 tan of 44, that will be what? 3.86. So 3.86, that will be the value. That is, 3.86275. That will be km, right? Now, the answer is asking you to what? Give your answer in meters, correct to the nearest 100 meters. So pretty easy. So as we know, 1 km is equal to 1,000 meters. So convert this, we have to multiply by 1,000. So that will give you 3.862.75 meters. Now to the nearest 100, we have to look at the number here. Now you can ask yourself, is 62 closer to 100 or closer to 0? It will be closer to 100. So that's why you have to send one over here. That will be 3900. Okay, so that will be the answer. So in other ways, you can also ask yourself how to write to 2SF, right? 2SF, that will be 39. So leave the first 2 by itself and ask yourself if this number is more or equal to 5. If it is, we have to add 1. So 38 plus 1 will be 39, and the rest will become 0. So this is the answer correct to 2SF, or nearest 100 meters. That will be part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, the aircraft took 2 minutes and 54 seconds to fly from P to Q. So from the point P going to the point Q, it took 2 minutes and 54 seconds. That is the time taken from P to Q. Okay, now what else? The aircraft reached its destination 39 minutes and 6 seconds after flying over Q. Okay, now the flight ended at this time. Good to know. At what time did the aircraft fly over P? So pretty easy. So we want to know what was the time when it left P, right? That's the initial thing. So we know that it finished its flight at this time. That will be at 15:03 minutes and 0 seconds. This is the time it finished or ended its flight. Now, before this, it flew this much time over Q. So over Q, so that will be 39 minutes and 6 seconds. But now, from P going to Q, it took 2 minutes and 54 seconds. So, right, from P to Q, it took 2 minutes and 54 seconds. So we have to minus all this to find the time at which it began. So now you can check. So first we have 0 here. We have to minus 1. That will be 2. Now 1 minute is 60 seconds, right? 60 minus 6, 54. 54 minus 54 will be 0. So we have 0 here. Good. Now here we have 2. We'll cancel out. Here we have 15 minus, it has become 14 hours. Now 1 hour is 60 minutes. 60 minus 39, that will be 21. So 21. And this will be 14. So as you can see by calculation, the time when it was just over the point X, which is P, it was at this time. And then it flew to Q, and then it spent some time at Q before arriving at its destination. Now the main thing here is just to understand what it is asking you for. That's the main part of this question, right? So that will be at 14:21, it left P, was flying over P still. Now for part B, we have to calculate the average speed of the aircraft as it flew from P to Q. Now, from P to Q, it took, let's see, 2 minutes and 54 seconds. So 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Now, something we can do here very simple is, how can we convert seconds to minutes? So we know that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. What about 54 seconds? It will be 1 minute divided by 60 times 54. That will be 0.9 minutes. We can check. 54 divided by 60, it will be 0.9. So which means this whole thing is simply 2.9 minutes. So basically the idea is that the plane or the aircraft flew from P to Q in 2.9 minutes. Something we were able to kind of derive from the initial values. Now, you have to give your answer in km per hour. Right. Now, how do you find average speed? So we know the formula is that it is the total distance over the total time taken. Distance from P to Q is equal to 17. 17 is 17 km over time taken was 2.9 minutes. Okay, so now you can see that for km, we have km here, which is good. But now for hour, we have minutes here, which is not good. Now, how do you convert minutes to hours? We know that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So to convert minutes to hours, we have to divide by 60, right? So to convert this, that will be 17 over 2.9. Then this whole thing here, the base divided by 60. to convert this to hours and km. So let's see what do we get. 2.9 divided by 60, that will be this. 17 divided by answer, that should be this. So 352 km per hour, that will be your answer for part B of the question. Now again, the main takeaway is that converting hours, so we know 1 hour is 60 minutes. Now to convert minutes to hours is equal to 1 over 60 hours. So the idea is to divide by 60 if you want to convert minutes to hours. That's the main takeaway from this part of the question. And this was the last question of this paper. I hope it was somewhat helpful. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you soon.